Okay, what we're going to talk about today is data types, operators, and the if statement. Okay, so an integer is the numbers 1, 2, 3, 0, -1, -2, right? So we can make a variable, let's call it I. We say it's equal to 1. Okay, and then we can say print I. But then I'll say print the type of I. So I want to know what kind of object is it, see? Let's print it out. See? It says it's an int. Now, floating point numbers are in math class are the same as decimal numbers. Like if we have 3.27, okay? So I'm going to say, okay, J is equal to 3.27. Then I'll say print J, type J. It says it's a float, okay? Now there's some functions, for example, a string is just text, right? You know, if we put let's say here, students, we have Alexander, that's spelled right, and Elias, okay? A string has quote marks, it's just letters. I can say print students. And I'll say what type is students. Okay, it says this is a type string, str. Okay, now there's some things you can do to convert from one type to another. For example, we can say suppose we have a number in that says 1, 2, 3. That's what kind of number is that? What is that, Elias? Is that a string or an integer?
It's string.
Okay, that's right. How can we check? Use type. We could say, okay, D equals this. We say print D type D. Again, just like before. Whoops. But you can convert strings to numbers. I could say int of D. That means turn it into an integer. See, there it is. I'll say print int of D. Well, let's give it another name. We'll call it E equals int of D. Now int is a function which is something that does something, right? So we can say print. Okay, E is int D. We'll say print E. Then we'll say what type is it? See the first one? This was a string, right? And then the next one is an integer. Now, what if we got something like this? What if you have I don't know, F is equal to 1247? I can also turn that into a number. I can just say G is equal to, you say float of F, print G type G. Okay. See that? So I took this, which was a string, use the float function, right? Use the float function to convert to a floating point number. The reason they call it floating point is this thing here in 12.47, the decimal point is the dot. Okay. They called it floating point number. Right? An integer doesn't have any dot. Okay. Now, okay. Let's talk about logic. Whoops. Click plus. Okay, so Elias is we just put I. 13 years old, yeah? So we can say if Elias is bigger than 13, we can say print Elias is teenager. Actually, you're teenager at what, 12? No, 13, that's right. Teenager. Because the word 13 has the word teen in it. So we say teenager. This is called an if statement. So you put the if, right? You put if. Put some statement inside parentheses, it's called parentheses. Put colon at the end, right? That means, well, it just means that means the end. Okay. On the next line, you put 2 spaces, which we can, which we can call an indent. Look, if I go here, watch, if I go here and I say, you know, if I say, okay, print something else, then it knows these 2 things. It says do both of these things if this is true, right? Now watch this. Watch the difference. Suppose I go like this and I move this over here and I take out these spaces, okay? Now I'm going to say, okay, Ilya is now 9 years old. Now what's this going to do? Is he bigger than 13? He's not. So if I have this up here, those 2 things to go together, it won't do anything. It didn't do anything, see? But if I go down here and I move this over, that means it's another statement, you know? It's on the left, no spaces in front. So it's another statement. Okay, so now if I do this, it will run it no matter what. See, no matter how old Ilias is, right? I'll change it up here and say he's 17, right? It's still gonna run that, but it'll also say print Ilias is teenager. Okay. So we talked about integers, we talked about floating point numbers, we talked about if. Okay, let's talk about else. So we can say, okay, okay, Alexander is How old are you, Alexander? You're 14. Your mom told me 14. So we can say if parentheses Alexander is less than 10, print O is child, right? We say else. Else, you say else means do something else. It means if this part's not true, then do the next thing. And say O is 10 is older than a child. You see that? So what happens if I change this to 8? What's it going to say? Do you know, Ilias? Are you still there?
What? What? You talking to me?
You got to pay attention if you're in class. I
I
said,
I thought you just said Ilya, not my.
okay, what is this going to do? If I change this to 8, what's it going to do?
It's gonna say 8.
Where does it say print 8?
Up. It says print 0.
Okay, so if we put equal means test. You could say it's called test. That means check, see if something is true. So up here we said this. We said, see if O is less than 10. Then we said, okay, the else. The else means, it says, do this if O is not less than 10. Well, O can be less than 10 or greater than or equal to, right? Let's write it like this. Let's do a little test here. I can ask the computer, is O bigger than 10? It's going to say true or false. False. What's O equal to now? I made it. I'm going to put it here again. It's equal to 8. Okay. Now, if I make O equal to 10, and I say, is O bigger than 10? Well, this is going to not be true. It'd be false. So I should say, I could either do twice. I could either say O is equal to 10, equal, right? That checks, right? Check if O is 10. Or I could do this. I could do it. I could say, check if O is bigger than or equal to 10. You say O bigger than equal to 10. I forget if in math class, if you write it this way, I think you do in math class. You remember sometimes on the computer, you use different symbols than in math class. True. Okay, this thing here, true and false, that's also called a data type. Data type. Another one is Boolean. Boolean can be, we write with capital letter, true, false. Okay? Those are data types. So here I could say print T and then the type of T. What's it going to say? What's T equal to?